Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Talent League Titan Series. We have a matchup now of Team Heroic versus Jihu. I am your host, Velocity, joined on the analyst desk with Noctish once more. Noctish, how are we feeling about this matchup?
Again, a T1 team, all hype. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, well, Team Heroic then, they won their last match 7-3, and Jihu won their last match 7-4, so very close and very similar scorelines. However, Team Heroic's most banned map is Sky, unlike Jihu. I think you told me this. It was their most banned map is Club.
Yeah, it was exactly. Thank you for remembering.
Yeah, well, you know, it's kind of my job to remember things now and again. Anyway, map bans then. Am I right in saying we're on Club? Yes, we are on Club.
We are going on Cafe, yeah.
It's going to be interesting because, you know, Cafe is a good map. Sorry,
exactly. Cafe is a good map. It has been banned against Heroic 47%, 41 times. So it's going to be absolutely a good game, I guess. So,
you have to remember as well, Noctish, this is neither of the team's best maps.
Exactly. Thank you for pointing out. Yes, although Heroic winning on Cafe 9 times, they also lost it 7 times. So it is a kind of balanced map, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, we're on the topic of best maps. We're looking at Heroic. I think their strongest map is Chalet. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're right.
Yeah, and then there you go, my analyst brain kicking in. And then Jihu, their strongest map is Oregon. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, exactly. So completely two different maps in terms of being able to play and how you play it. And their Heroic's second best map is Border, which they have 10 wins and only 4 losses. So neither of these teams going to their comfortable match. Also Heroic with their recent win 7-3 on MYD. I really want to see how they have been developed since their last game.
Well, thank you, Noctish, for the breakdown of today's map. So we're going to head over to the casting desk with Direction and Magnitude. Squishy and Go, how are we today?
That was despicable, but we're doing pretty well, I think. I'll speak for myself. Enjoyed our first game of the evening, and now we're in for another treat. Another game which really could be hitting the overtime, right? I mean, Squishy, what you're thinking for this one?
I mean, honestly, I have Jihu to get to the finals and win it, so I really hope they do come and pull through against a team like Heroic. But obviously, Heroic are a T1 team, so you got to expect, especially on a map like Cafe, they're going to be able to get some shots down and win a couple rounds.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to this. A lot of aggression coming out. I'm expecting a decent number of gunfights. We're hearing the howling already coming through. Two teams that are really wanting to be giving it their all, and here on Cafe as well. Squishy, you've been saying this was your favorite map. Please enlighten us.
I just love Cafe. I mean, there's also so much pressure on everyone. I mean, you gotta watch for runouts, especially if Nomad isn't banned. Jump outs are on the board. I mean, I just love to watch Cafe being played, and especially when a T1 team like Heroic against Jihu, mechanically, I mean, they're just insane. But hopefully we can have a good game. I mean, heading on to the banning, Ying going off the board, and I mean, Heroic, they're scared. Banning Jihu off the Ying. I mean,
it's one of these bands, right? I think Ying growing in popularity as one of the bands coming through in Siege, and the Monty coming out from the side of Jihu to meet it. Look, both of these operators are amazing at just completely shaping the way that a defense has to play around their presence. And you cut them off, it frees you up a little bit more. You don't have to worry about something like a Warden necessarily. There's still options for stun plays or smokes, especially if you bring something like the Glaz, which we did see Noah's pull out for the side of TT9 in our last game earlier today. Is Army taken away? I mean, it looks squishy. It's like, come on. As Army's just gone every time, right? You're not allowing, just so frustrating to deal with. Just please give me a more reliable way to not have to deal with this in solo queue, and I'll thank you every single day of the week. And of course, the classic cafe bands will be lined up, finished off with that Valkyrie. I mean,
Yeah,
cameras.
not surprised at all without going off the board there. I mean, just her ability again with C4s on both sides. If you're trying to push through Christmas or even do vertical on the kitchen site, I mean, it can just do so much damage. And again, the amount of Valkyries, which I can't even see on the map, even though they're pinging me, and I've got an IQ on my team, you know, I'm still going to end up with a C4 beneath my feet. But heading up to the top floor, Heroic, going to be in the castle and the mirror. Very standard as Mirror is still on the board, and I'm not really surprised if they're going to have all lines of sight through freeze and just have a Mirror sit behind there and do nothing about it from the side of GU.
Also, just love when we get Heroic.Cream and Cream.Heroic. That is not going to be a
Oh no!
A little bit of tongue twister, especially with 3 into an absolute gem of one here. The lineup, though, coming out, like you mentioned, on the defensive side of things, pretty standard for something like Cafe. You're seeing June grabbing the castle, popping up those barricades just to try and limit some of the longer lines of sight that Jihu might want to be pulling off. Already immediately seeing Creeds grabbing that nook is something you really expect to see coming out from a team that wants to be aggressive, wants to get up in your face, and kind of wants to create a little bit of chaos early into some of these rounds. I'm looking forward to seeing how that pays off for them.
Yeah, I mean, if you look on your right hand side of the screen, I mean, you've got 6 nades packed up, and obviously a pair of them is on Creeds, as he will probably enter you from Bakery and try and sneak up his way into Library, and just that mirror we saw on Shaiko, it even was, I mean, 1 nade from beneath, and someone's there, and it's going to be cooked, and they'll find the opening pick, and that's all you need, because especially on a map like Cafe, if you lose the first gunfight, I know a lot about Cafe, if you lose the first gunfight, I mean, there's too many angles you're going to have to hold from the defensive side and from the attacker side if you lose that Glaz. But again, what is that scope? I've never seen that being used on Jaeger on the Carbine at all, but that being said, he still uses it to find a kill into Venoms. 4v5, and there you have it. Heroic finding the first entry on this map.
We need to, like, chill out on the Cybertruck Hollow, like, just complete scandal. Everyone insults this site. It's fine, right? You can get kills with it, guys. Let's calm down a moment. They're perfectly demonstrated by Blaz. But more importantly, with this first mirror window being sort of blocked out,
how is
that is going to hurt a little bit. That must have been an accident or a misclick there.
Oh,
but
no.
you know, it's a feels bad situation, but it can happen. Getting that opening pick onto Venom, so it does free up that pressure on the East Repel. You have Leighton moving into this position, but it's the Sledgehammer that you're kind of relying on to get rid of these castle barricades. Instead of having to invest a frag grenade, which you'd much rather be using elsewhere on the map. And with Doom catching down MC, it's just all starting to slip away. Creed spotted out, just committing to pushing up White Stairs and will grab a kill. But now just be careful both above and below Squishy.
Yeah, but there you have it. Cream will find the refrag and Blast to finish the round off. And a bit of unlucky timing on Nook, getting caught off running up White Stairs on the library tape of the run out. We'll finish the first site of Cafe. And I mean, I'm obviously not surprised. Cafe, the most defended side of the map in Siege, and I think it has been for a very long time. And I'm not going to be surprised if Heroic do find this next kitchen round. They're going Reading Fireplace. Surprising. Something to say about that. Hopefully Jihu can try and capitalize on it, but they're not bringing a castle, even though they're bringing it to go first floor. I'm a bit baffled here, Golu.
I don't know. I like this side. I think it's just very comfortable to play on, and you're looking at the way in which teams sort of adapted to Siege, and you can set up yourself above. You're playing it very much like your cocktail setup. You have space to fall back to down below. If you lose that control of the top floor, there's still more space for the attack to have to fight through. And there are options, and we will sometimes see teams committing to a very horizontal approach. They'll look for mining and train very quickly to establish control over in towards the dining room. And that can work really well for you, and that's where you have to be a little bit cautious as the defensive end, just to make sure that you have some form of early information placed in those positions. If you're going to get caught out by someone just ignoring the top floor, you need to find a way to get back and sort of deal with that control. Obviously, going through piano, opening up that hatch, for example, could be a great way to deal with that. So teams really have to adjust dynamically around each other, which makes the site very interesting.
There's no way June gets a kill here. Yeah, he will be spawning the drone and he'll back up White Stairs goes. But I mean, just as you said, I mean, look at that top floor. It's such an aggressive hold on the top floor. I mean, I've never seen it rotate into absolutely everything from freeze it into Christmas. I just haven't seen it before. It's just really a bit more passive gameplay. Speaking of aggression, I believe that is Kayak finding the kill. Sorry, this heroic green team is going to get me on edge. We'll find the opening pick onto Creeds, and Creeds, he fails to get the first entry one more time. Doom adds on to it to find Venom. So he's outside the map. Someone kill him. Leighton just find Doom, and they have it 3v4 on a very attacker-sided map. But still, when you have the man advantage, Heroic look for it, and then they capitalize on it. Looking like Heroic might win this round if they've got the man advantage.
And still sitting upstairs on this top floor, so far there hasn't really been the opportunity for Jihu. It's not for a lack of trying, it's just, again, very early aggression coming out from Heroic, denying them this access, dropping the skylight, looking to try and use the flashbangs to disorientate inside of storage, pushing from behind, but you gotta watch your back of the wall and looking for the flank. The first kill goes indeed, as immediately Shed just grabs two more. Uno, the last man standing as the E1D scan comes through. He is going to move, going to give himself away a little bit, but has to get into position to meet them.
Yeah, I mean, pushing on Whiteside MC, we've talked about him pre-game. We know what he can do with a will find some bullets to cut off the rotation. Shell will get the diffuser nice and safely down. Now with the post plant scenario, 40 seconds left on the clock, a 1v2 with Uno. No util on the ball with only weapon in MC. He finds it with the DMR. There you have it. I told you. I know my cafe, I mean, GU. They win that second round.
Now you're looking at a situation for them where they've figured out how to break those attacks, and a big part of that was just the aggression coming from Heroic, trying to just push into MC and Shed, but the duo just standing firm. And when you're down in those low man count situations, when you're all by yourself and you're looking down a line and the Dokkaebi, they both have utility on board, trying to find a way to get into a position in the clutches where what you really want to do is isolate one of these gunfights. You want to deny information as much as possible, catch them off guard, play for that 1 versus 1 at the end. Not going to happen against the line, not going to happen against the Dokkaebi. Combined, you're looking at a nightmare situation for yourself. And Heroic, they do lose that round, immediately are going to come straight back to the same site again. And it's because they had such a good start, right? You're looking at the opening picks they had, aggression down towards the spawns, really making life difficult for the members of Jihu who had to walk up to the building first. Things started to fall apart when they over-aggressed. They had that 4 versus 3 advantage, and they didn't kind of respect the fact that Jihu are going to be able to frag back you when given the opportunity, and that opened up the comeback into the round for them.
Yeah, I mean, again, one round went shut down Heroic. I mean, they're a very strong team, and we talked about this. And even though Jihu might win the end gunfights, but even that scenario, you know, you can never count them out, even in that close plant scenario. Heroic still got guns blazing, but the only thing blazing is his head. MC finds the first kill, and it's going to be the first entry for Jihu of these 3 rounds, which you've seen so far. And again, same lineup is going to do Jihu well, and we've seen still all these nades bring Brock Golu, but I mean, none of them have been used.
Now, it's a little bit of a waiting game here for Heroic, who are prepping a couple runouts, are getting ready to get aggressive, and Leighton, once again going up onto this balcony, will have to be a little cautious of the jump out from White, although I'm sure they are half expecting it by this point in the game. A little bit of work being done to try and establish control over by Piano and by Cigar Shop, just so that they can start to push through the rest of this top floor, go for a little bit more of a standard paint. Venom's lasting a little bit longer means they have that sledgehammer to apply the vertical pressure. And well, with Creeds taking down the Yak attack, MC taking down the second as well. Skitty, that's going to really help them now. 2 versus 5 to fight back from Squishy.
Yeah, I mean, again, a 2v5, we talked about having the man advantage of Jihu, and I mean, it's going to be very impossible for Heroic to try and come back from this. I mean, you have Fenrir gadgets going off everywhere, but Jihu, they can just stack up and trade back in this, what they hope to be post-plant scenario later in the round, but again, Sledge doing the vertical up top. Nades finally bring Bolt out to clear out the site. It's just about time they drop Pillar and try and get the plant down. Change still on the board, and it'll be the only one left on the board as Creeds finds the last kill, and you know, you're spotted, mate. It's going to be a double or triple maybe from Creeds as Nurk, and that's the first time we've seen him really pull through on a round and make a good impact. They have it, 2-1 now in favor of Jihu.
It's again just getting all around heroic, and when these picks aren't falling early on, when they're given access to the building and they can get up close and they can get in your face, we're seeing what happens from the side of Jihu, right? Just presence is amazing for them. They get there, they're not going to lose the gunfights, and you're starting to see Heroic losing options for rotations, getting traded out when they're trying to get aggressive, and just constantly finding themselves on that back foot. You said it yourself, Squishy. You thought G2 a team that can definitely take on Heroic, and they're showing it. They're going toe-to-toe on engagements when they get them. Heroic need to find another way to start applying the pressure, because just looking for one-on-ones isn't working out.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about, you know, these T1 teams coming through, TT9 and Heroic, and obviously they're going to try new things out. I think this was a bit of a testing in these first 3 rounds, as you know, these aren't as the important rounds as the later rounds are. So, I mean, Heroic, they're told, Jihu will punish you if you want to go that reading site again. So they'll be back in safe in kitchen, running the Echo with the shield as well as Uno running a shield. I think it's going to be a very default competitive setup. Nothing I haven't seen before. Very basic. You know, have the VIP holding the kitchen hold to just hold down behind shields. But no Jaeger though. Bit surprised they don't run the Jaeger. They decided to bring the Go instead with those proximities. Does Go not have a C4? I swear he still has a C4. Correct me if I'm wrong. It got taken away.
Nope.
There you have it. I mean, C these days. But he'll take the proximity alongside that, and Jim will have the C4 this round.
I mean, there's been a couple of changes, right? And it does pose questions to teams. Do you want to change up your primary or secondary utility? And I think ultimately just the ability of these Vulcans to buy out time for yourself is just going to be really helpful over that Nitro Cell in this situation. Uno does have to be cautious. Stuck inside of VIP, and on the angle that's been drawn, you can't really walk out the door to the back. Garage being opened up as much as it has been by Jihu means Shed is cutting off the rotation here, but for the time being, until the nades can come into position to actually net the kills, you're going to just continue to play out this clock.
I mean, there's only maximum, I think, the one my gadgets, only maximum of 1 in VIP, so I'd be very disappointed if that shield on the side of Heroic, playing behind that on VIP side, does not get taken down with 4 nades still in the pocket, as obviously Romain's playing coat side, so I will be a bit disappointed. I think it is going to, if I'm right, but still a 5v5. Bit of a standoff now, as Heroic want to try and even up the scoreboard here and joining out. I mean, 1 minute 30 left, but oh, the aggression Creeds come through. Uno with the refrag, try and find a double on the round, but no. He'll step back as Heroic, they want to play passive. They don't need to peek here, but he does anyway and shut down. He does. Thing with the refrag, finding Leighton. 3v3 now, 1 minute 20 left on the clock. Make that a 2 versus 3. As MC adds on to it, well, my will fall. That's the guy in Cloaker. 1v3 left up for Skiddy, I believe. This is possibly Kayak, but don't trust me in that one. Post-plant scenario looking to get MC down on the bomb now in sight. I mean, eyes on the board, but still, Heroic. He's stuck in Bakery.
Yeah, Kayak. You know, you can see players do this before, using the yokai to try and gather information, but they have been taken down. Skiddy's still down and in a position where to try and get through him is going to give a lot of pressure up inside of that site. So instead, you're seeing Jihu a little bit patiently just getting access in so they can start to look to go down for a plant, recognizing these shots coming in from the Echo right at the back of Bakery. You can see Venom's just sneaking onto the diffuser. The coverage should be good for them now, Squishy.
Yeah, I mean, 36 left. Creeds obviously gets that end off, confirming the 1v3, but the angle might come up, but no, the bomb's going to be safe down, and Venom finds, that is Kayak, finds Kayak on the Echo, and even though they go kitchen, defense-sided site, Heroic, they're too aggressive there. I mean, Uno should have peeked, but again, in this meta, it's either swing or be swung, but obviously Jihu mechanically winning those gunfights. Back to Bar Cocktail, their primary site, same setup, same operators. Jihu, you found the weaknesses on the other sides. Can you find it in their primary site?
EGC, you've got to go back up the top floor eventually, and I think this one was the round that was a bit quirky, right? Because you're looking at a lot of early aggression coming through, and it kind of halted them from getting that initial plan. Aggression, especially from June, I want to say it was. Not June. Blaz, just jumping out, running outside. Look, I think What I really want to see here from Jihu is just a little bit of a slow approach. If they can get to the building, if they can start to establish that control over Piano, we'll see them get to fix their kind of prior mistakes. Instead, due to losing a lot of players and everything kind of going a little bit crazy in the round, they relied on just pushing up white, and they found themselves in that 2 versus 5. Things didn't really work out for them. If they can get that foothold, they're going to be in a much better position. From Heroic, deny it. Just continue to play aggressively if that's what's going to pay off for you. But we're starting to see Jihu figuring out how to get to the building safely. And so, I mean, Squishy, what goes from here?
I mean, just look how Jihu are playing. They just got to be cautious of every kind of angle. If I was on the side of Jihu, I mean, that eastern side on the rappel angles, it just didn't really seem to work out. And they seem to be winning their gunfights when they're inside the map and they're comfortable and they know where the players are. They've got the intel with it. So if they're going to keep on the rappels playing a bit too passive, Heroic will be able to capitalize and contact with aggression. So best thing for Jihu now is just get in that site. You take that red control, you take the top red control, you try and breach in through Cigar. You just get all your util throughout that side where Shaiko, or no, well, Maya's playing Shaiko and obviously Yuna just waiting for the C4. You find the picks, you win the gunfights. Jihu, they've been doing that for these 3 rounds and they've win all those 3 rounds.
Going to throw up onto the rappel now. Still cautious of any potential jump outs, but I don't think that's what's lined up for Heroic here. Instead, just wanting to play things a little bit slower. Still, these deployable shields, these mirror windows set up to give them the coverage alongside of Bar. Has to be aware of the potential nade coming in from the window. Caught off by a Magnet, the second one hit as well. But still able to get an injure from the other side. Heaven Balcony can't finish off the kill onto Amai, but there's no chance of picking up anytime soon.
Yep, and still a 5v5, still a bit of a standoff with these people on rappel. But I mean, Heroic, they're ready for it, they hear them, they know they're there, and too. Bit of a nasty angle there, but gee, you're still outside the building. You've got to get some way to find the kills. We saw Creed try and open up rounds, and he has done that perfectly and very well. But he can't entry in anywhere. Heroic is just holding them off, and you see that C4 ready from there. They won't find nothing. I mean, 55 seconds left. Molu and Jihu, they're struggling to even get inside the map. It's only until Heroic get a bit too comfortable, and now it's going to be a 3v5. Is what Maya's ready to be cleaned up in. MC, is this Shaiko somehow? Don't know how he got there. Up red, he'll find the confirm. A 3v3 now as Leighton adds that to a 2v3. Finally, they're inside the map and they're finding kills. 3 versus 2. Advantage of Jihu, but no, Shed gets away last second. Does have 1 EED left on the board to use, but caught by too many. A trouble for Leighton. He's still on rappel. It doesn't even matter. You know, no C4 in hand. Yes, there's the SMG-11 though, and the shotgun in the corner. But Shed, he will plant safe and sound. Watching the reply. Uno, he's got too many angles to worry about. 15 seconds left. He could swing at the pre-fire with the intel, and he does. Shed, 1v2 now. He does fall. 40 seconds left, and time is definitely on the side of Jihu now as Heroic left in. There's 1 versus 2.
And just patiently going to wait out the clock underneath on Rappel, waiting on the other side of the castle barricade. Venoms and Leighton doing a great job just to deny Uno the clutch potential here. Looking for the swing around the corner, immediately shut down by Venoms. Hearing the footsteps approaching from behind, and it's just gun ready in the nick of time. Interesting approach again from Jihu, who really want to play from this east side, and you can see why. If they can get the nades timing in and they're throwing them in unison together, both Leighton and Venoms, so that the player in the position where we're seeing the Wamai, right, we're seeing Kayak, he's just getting caught up. He can't live long enough to be that threat, and it takes away so much pressure once you lose your presence inside of Cocktail. And from there, it's just a case of starting to push up the staircases. You're seeing MC with all the attention drawn the other way. He can drop onto Nubal and just push on into sight. Yes, he gets caught out because the players from Heroic have moved over. They've taken space inside of Piano, for example. It doesn't really matter because once the clicks start to come through, we're just seeing them slowly move up white stairs with that control, forcing their way into sight, and Heroic boxed out of their own defense. And you just went around. It's a very nice assault, and they were very good at just sort of addressing the main issues that were coming up, finding a way to correct the mistakes of last time.
And this is why I just love Cafe. It's so unpredictable. I mean, you have Heroic now trying to scrape a 40 split on the defender side of the map, going for the same site which Jihu won twice, looking to maybe win it once more to make that 5-1 on the half. And I mean, Heroic, they're going to try and scrape onto everything, but again, a comeback. This is Siege. always going to be an option no matter what. And I mean, MC, that last round, just looking at him now, the same things. The same thing, he just creeps up. He lets the distraction from his teammates just pull out and like keep on pinching Heroic, and then he can fly through, as we've seen Heroic. You talked about MC. You talked about him. You see him scrimming. He'll drop 25 kills in one half, like you said. I mean, you see him and Creed both running that 6 kills, leading the scoreboard on the entries. And Heroic, they've got to be scared and afraid, but again, you can't doubt them. They know what they're doing, and they're prepared for it.
The drone is going to spot out Kayak here, but still in this position with the magnets set up the way they are, going to be hard to dislodge the Wamai. And you can see Jihu recognizing that, instead going to go back onto the rappel, continue to sort of play for this pressure around. Doom on the run out, immediately catching off the sledge. And this is one of the things that can happen with Cafe, a map which definitely has quite a large amount of predictability to it. Creed's able to get in below and watch for the run out, the entry back in through Garage, cut that off, grab a kill back. But just knowing that players are going to be playing on this window rappel, when you know Jihu want to be looking for this east pressure, there's lots of ways to deal with it, and they just weren't ready to catch it off.
Yep, and obviously aggression being pulled out. You know, still on this bottom floor, I mean, it's gone a bit pear-shaped for Heroic. I mean, you put bottom floor, people top floor, and no one's really in that middle, that first floor. Jihu, they've still got time to work with, and MC will use that time. He'll find my back off the board. I believe that is Kayak. You got caught off the board again. Man advantage caught out Cream, forced to drop the hatch to the nades. Fortunate time in there, you know, barricade laundry back up now. 1 minute left, and there you have it. Kayak's next to fall. Sorry, Skinny is next to fall on the jumper. I mean, a word once, but it won't work again. Blaze and Yuno back on the 2 versus 4. We're all in favor of Jihu now. When a side wants pillar, they can find this man, and they do. Blaze finds Layton, making it a 2v3, but still man advantage facing in the side of the Jihu. They've won this side 2 times before. 40 seconds left. They've got time to win it again. No sledge to do the vertical, but a nade and 2 flashes will enter in the site and clear out some corners. That's all they need. Drop pillar coming through soon. Looking to plant on that D4 side, and with Blaze on really the wrong side of the map, you want him a bit closer. Nade laundry, and I mean, it's looking a bit like Jihu could win this out. Blaze jumps through White Hallway stairs actually, and 15 seconds left. Jihu looking to find the entry, and Lions goes in first with Diffuser. These are the flashes coming out. He's closer. I don't think they know that Yuno's here. He could find the swing. Blaze finds Crease. A 2v4 on the board, and yes, he does. Shotgun out, and he'll swing to find the second, but no. Shed will find the kill, forced to go for the plant. Blaze, there's no way you throw this round yet. He'll wait it out. He'll go for the diffuse. Shed, he could get the plant out just in time, but no, he'll get the plant, but Blaze with the triple. I mean, Heroic, don't count them off the board just yet. Blaze and Uno winning their second round from a 2-4 split, now to a 2-4 half. Heroic on the attack, Jihu on the defense.
And 4-2, defensive half of Cafe. I don't know if that's exactly what you'd be wanting to come away from here. At least you're able, again, it feels like we said this last game, you grab that one at the end, it's not going to be the 5-1, a 4-2's a lot easier to sort of deal with. But I'm looking at this now on the defensive end of things, and Jihu coming into this, I want to see what they're bringing out. Again, the mirror immediately on the table. You're seeing the Solist coming through, pairing that with the mute, so lots of ways to deny information to the side of Heroic. And I think if you can deny and hide as much as possible on a map like Cafe, where so much of the action is diverted down specific lanes, that you're walking down White Corridor, Bar is effectively just a long corridor. And the way that they're opening up into Piano here from inside of storage, again, just screams like we're going to be looking down these long line of sights, we're going to be fighting you for a lot of space. I'm expecting Heroic to be going for a more standard style of take, looking to get access into Piano, push back the defense, and move their way into a bar to where you sort of expect to see people planting on these more default positions. But Jihu are going to be ready for that, and they are going to have some lurk presence below that you're going to have to be ready to deal with if you want to be able to do so safely.
Yeah, I mean, you see Blaz on the Yanni. There's a diffusion hand though. Hopefully, he can switch on to Yuno or something. Obviously, Blaz. I mean, he's on 6 kills. He's the one who really saved that round of in that last defending side for them. But now it's going to be Jihu on the attack and looking to do a similar take, which Jihu did on these east windows. And I don't know when this was so popular. I would always go for that red hatch and breach in and be a bit more safe and sound. But they do have Nomad, so the Runouts and jump outs aren't too much for a worry for Heroic this turn. C-Front have the Shed. I think Shed could do some damage. Right place, right time with the C4. Venoms will be on 20 HP as he does get revived from the window. So I don't know if the toes can be seen by Heroic there on the Scarlight, but June will find Venoms. He'll be cleared off the board. That down at 20 HP will not help him at all. And I mean, Golu, Heroic, they've pinched these players stuck inside Shed. You see him in the corner, Flash will go out, but he's stuck here.
Well, angles being drawn from the balcony and just not aware that Skitty had made his way into the spot. Now have to be very careful. Still players looking to come in through these windows. Leighton able to grab one MC, making it a second as well. So the two of them keeping themselves and their team, more importantly, still competitive in this round, but having to back away, giving a lot of space inside of sight over to the attack, which is going to give options for a plant to be looked at the angles opening up. You see below, with the ability of Stralis to scan for those gadgets, is going to be very important. He's going to locate a lot of the information and direct his team into the right positions to shut down this attack.
I mean, you speak of getting a plant down, but MC still with beneath and Creed. He's waiting for the call to pop the C4 if a plant does go out. And he can drop at any point in time. But again, there is 1 minute for Heroic to work with. They will understand that Soldiers will be playing beneath. They're not used to the game. They know what they're doing. Mirror will slow things down there for Heroic because time is taking 20 seconds and no action has happened. Still a repel and Creed with that mirror. We'll find, I believe that is Skitty and close with the shotgun with the M5. A flash will come out from the floors, but again, shotgun can't push through that. Hair jab, not find anything. Yuno will get down. And now for the 1v3 in another scenario, but make that a 1v2 now, but the close shotgun will clean it up. They have it. I think 4 is, if I'm right, I think that is Kayak. This is really confusing me, man.
It was Skitty in the 1v3 at the end, and I think it's always going to be a little bit difficult, but you can see just the value of being able to play these close angles on something like Cafe, right? You have the shotguns available to yourselves, you have the high fire rate weapons in the Vector and in the P90 respectively. It's always going to be difficult, and I really like teams trying to commit to this East Hedge, and we've seen when it's successful how strong it can be at denying that site access. The adaptation from Jihu when they lose control of site to respect that they need to back away, knowing that the diffuser has been dropped down, it's going to have to be recovered by the team. They have a little bit of breathing room to play with in terms of stalling out the time. That's ultimately where Heroic need to find a way to use the pressure they have elsewhere on the map. And we saw Skitty get down, get that opening kill onto the Warden inside of Cocktail before, but then not really able to play enough around the fact that they have this piano control. And it just led to a lot of slow play. It just meant they didn't get what they really would have wanted to from the situation, and Jihu just adapting very well. That's ultimately been the story of this defense so far.
Yep, I mean, heading to this, what I wish is a tertiary site, but obviously it'll be secondary for Jihu. I mean, they lost, they won this round when they were on attack, and they'll know the weaknesses which Heroic, which gave Jihu those rounds, so hopefully they can use it to an advantage, but a completely different lineup on the side of Jihu. Nothing what we saw side Heroic, still bringing the mirror like we saw on the Bar and Cocktail, so hopefully they're able to utilize that. I mean, you see the Buck being brought through in the sledge, just trying, if they get this top control, they will clear out sight, and Heroic, they know how to do it, they'll do it well, and they'll go for the pillar plant like we saw from Jihu. But Jihu, if they hold this site down, it won't look good. June finds the double, he's already in somehow, and there you have it, he's on white stairs somehow, he finds a triple. How is he on white stairs? How on earth has he got there? He might try and find the quad, but no, will be shut down in the 2v4. We saw this one before, but it was the other team swapped way around, make that a 1v3, but no, a 1 versus 0, Blast just finds Creed to finish it off, and I mean, June's on white stairs, Blast is in pillar somehow. I mean, what is going on?
This is one of the ways in which a site like Reading Dining can start to fall apart. If you lose space early on, or you get caught off by someone just being very quick and aggressive, asserting themselves in the round, such as Doom in that round, right? Gets onto the top floor, finds 2 kills, makes his way onto Y, is making the defense just forced to turn around, and that opens an opportunity for someone like Blaz to very quickly just take the opportunity to walk into the back end of side, to pick things apart, and Jihu don't really ever get a chance to play out the game properly. Now they come back to it again, and rushes, they work as a one-off. If they work more than once, especially on the same site, the fault lies with the defensive. Jihu cannot be allowed to get caught off by that again, and they will be aware of something similar, and they'll be thinking back, okay, where was Jim coming in from? Did he drop Skylight and walk through the top floor? Like, did he rappel in through a window? These sort of questions will have to be answered, and I would be very surprised to see something like that work again. However, Heroic just grabbing themselves a free round win is phenomenal for them.
Yeah, I mean, Jihu, now they've got to be a little more on edge, a bit more aware. And they might think, you know, they're a 2-1 team, they might play a bit more methodically, but no, June will bring the heat, and he will switch off into the Ash, be a bit more comfortable with the G6-3C. Hopefully running that 1.5, but Creeds could find a run-out though. I mean, obviously we saw run-outs before in the first half, I won't be surprised if I see it again. The Heroic, I don't think it'll work twice, like you said with the Rush, it won't work twice, so all these members, I mean, with a couple first rounds, they were a bit not soothed into the game, but now they're a bit more on lights and a bit more prepared for everything which could happen. But again, Heroic going to go for the same take, Jihu with the same setup.
Just Poison. Aware of potential tomfoolery that can go afoot at the bottom of red stairs there, not wanting to get caught off, understandably so. Now just waiting, again on this mirror window in position. No longer on the mute, instead rocking this Aruni, and that's because of the different purpose of this hold. It's the stall out time, it's to waste the clock, and someone like Aruni is going to do a little bit better job for that, as well as being able to use the DMR to try and some of these longer angles. Doom inside of mining already though, Creeds has to be a little bit cautious, has teammates moving to potentially try and give that support, but with Blaz grabbing an opening pick, she's doing a great job to grab one back onto Skiddy. Doom falls immediately to Creeds as well, so this early pressure by Heroic getting closer in the face of Jihu, kind of falling away.
Yeah, but I mean, again, man advantage going the way of Jihu. So again, on a map like Affair, I've talked about it, man advantage is a very important thing. And with Buck off the board, there was no sledge like last time. So it's fair to play, even if they do get it, a bit more damage towards them. MC does fall, speaking of him. You know, we spoke about a lot, dropping that his 8 kills with Blast. I don't think he's aware of this man in the corner. Maybe he is. Sheds, he's so far, he's safe and sound, but they're a bit curious that one is going to be up here, but no, they 100% know that for sure. Blast finds his triple, just like Doom did last round, and I mean, Jihu, man advantage, instantly switching off, now with Heroic with the 1-man up in this 50 second left on this execute. They've got the vertical control, but they can't use it. Got no Buck, he's dead. They've got no sledge like last round, so again, it's up to Venoms with no C4 in hand, and Creed's ready for the plant, ready just to get on his util and find out where they're going to be pushing from. I mean, it might probably look like a pillar plant like we saw last time, but again, Jihu, they've got to win these gunfights. It's very important. Dropping laundry, flashes come out, a nade will come out from Blaz as well. Venom's going for the aggression. He needs to make it a 2v2, but no, the crossfire as Uno will take Venom's out. Creed's making it a 1v2 now. Blaz, known position, 11 kills, trying to make it 12. He's going to pre-fire. Very low HP though, but no, he wins the gunfight. 12 for him, and there you have it. I mean, Cafe, what an exciting game this is.
With the scores being clawed back now, it's getting a little scarily close for Jihu, who had that big lead at the start. Attack just really showing what you can do if you get the foothold, if you can get the initial pressure and just start to domino effect your way through. You really start to snowball. Now, Jihu need to find a way to break this. They want to try and add another one of these defensive wins, and after failing to win out on reading twice, still both these teams not massive fans of the ground floor, right? Don't want to play the kitchen cooking, instead going to go back upstairs to the top, and the lineup once again very familiar, right? We expect to see this. The castles, the Aruni's also being paired, and with the tendency from both squads to play towards these east-sided takes, adding something like an Aruni on the window in heaven is just another piece of burn utility, right? You force them to invest either one of their 2 frags or get a teammate to come and clear it out with a stun grenade or a smoke grenade first. So just forcing more utility to be wasted before you can pressure out your players inside a cocktail makes a lot of sense, and it's a nice action to see.
Yeah, but again, Jihu, they're going to be on the side, which they did win on their first side. I mean, if they win this round, a lot of pressure on the Heroic, as that will be match point, and again, like we said all the time, one mistake can result in the loss of the map, and again, lots of pressure on the Heroic just in general, heading to be the winner of this team. Later, just going to finish up the setup, bring in the castle to just, because we saw that last round where they were reading that Mira got shot in seconds, as I believe it was, I think it was Uno who actually got it from the white repel window, so MC and DMR couldn't do much from there. But they'll run the castles just to make sure this east side take, if they do wish to go for it again, which they do, Gon6 is going out. It's a bit more of a struggle for Heroic.
Information being gathered, but the drone shot out gives away the position downstairs inside of Reading, so they are aware again of this vertical presence and how do they want to try and deal with it. It's MC on that Solace, who again can try and catch players out, but Twitch drone sneaking its way to remove the mirror window inside of Washing will do a good job of alleviating some of the pressure when they do go for the balcony push. Still aware of the East Repel sets though, and of course the Capitao using those firebolts, using those smokes to create so much space for themselves to play around can be massive here. The Nitro Cell squishy doesn't connect enough.
I mean, that is just so close from Kreese though. But again, damage is damage, and Uno will have felt that one, sorry. But again, it's looking like they will go for a smoke plant with the use of the Capitao trying to fire out, nade out. Speaking of which, Shed does fall from Kike's nade, and there you have it. 120 left on the clock. Execute slowly, trying to be formed by the IGL. And I mean, Jihu, they just got to hold on tight to this. C4 in the hand of Leighton, and MC playing below, waiting for the plant. If it does go out, just a standoff now. 1 minute left, ticking down. Heroic, they're gonna have to make the first move. I mean, you have Sledge ready to jump in Skylight if he needs to, just holding the angles. Leighton gets a C4, but again, no one's there. He's a bit late for that one. Uno's a bit too prepared. Here's it being chucked out, but again, you do have presence from below. That will be Dokkaebi, and I mean, they're already pushing in. And speaking of Dokkaebi, just find MC Solace can now not stop the plant. It's looking like they will try and go for this plant now as Uno's ready to smoke out, firing out, and he will be in this site now. I mean, Molu, it is really not looking good so far. Blast finds Leighton. Jihu is looking like to be their rounds, but I mean, in this 2 versus 5, no need to stop the plant. I mean, Heroic, they've evened up the scoreboard here.
Yeah, Creed all by himself, just being boxed out, will eventually go down, and now back to 5-5. Again, Heroic, just very, very calculated on these attacks, as we're seeing the first timeout request coming through for the defensive side. It's been interesting. I think a big part of the reason we're seeing the defense really start to struggle on Cafe is because of just how well these attacks know their objective, and they're very good at isolating and using utility to cut off players. We're seeing these approaches from East Repel having great effect due to the placement of frag grenades. Tools like the Capitao being bought by Uno to use the Asphyxiation Bolt, where it's like, great, you might be a Warden, great, you can see through smokes or stuns, you can't stand in fire forever. You're just gonna burn. And so you're forced to make a move, you walk out into a line of sight, you're being watched, you lose the picks, and as space inside of sight starts to crumble away, the pressure wrapping in from the back, both of these teams, great understanding of it. The real way this game is going to be broken is, can Jihu find a way to win a second or third defensive round? Because the last 3 rounds, to me, just indicate a complete turn-on from Heroic here. I don't know if there's going to be an easy option for Jihu to find a win out. Once again, going upstairs to the top floor, still leaving cooking and kitchen till later and later on into the game. Is that a mistake? Should they be going to it sooner? I don't know. It's hard to say with the way that these teams have been playing up against each other.
I mean, no, I think that timeout is just to really just speak about how a Heroic going to do this. Do it the same, they can prepare for it like they were speaking in that timeout in their own voice channel. But I mean, it is a lot on them. I mean, if they just get ready for this attack, they know what they will be able to do about this. But again, it's going to be the same lineup from the side of Heroic. I mean, we see the Buck and Sledge being brought up again. Haven't seen the Nook so far. We only saw that on Creed's. And Dokkaebi, obviously, we saw this once more. But lastly, Doom, hopefully working together to find an entry. And if I were Heroic, I wouldn't do the same east side push again. But I really think Jihu have really prepared for it. I mean, you see all the people not even on the site. I mean, just to make sure that they don't get naded. Spawn Peak trying to get the first man advantage. Could find a kill though.
Great for Shed if it pays off. They're going to walk out on his side, gets the damage onto Skitty, gets tanked up again. It's actually Leighton to finish off the job. Creed's injured on another separate spawn kill, will be finished off by Kite. So a quick little trade out. You lose your Mike, you lose Creeds, who's been the top fragger for the side of Jihu so far this series. 14 kills in the 10 rounds that have been played so far, this being the 11th. Is that a worth trade? I don't know. You lose the Dokkaebi. So those pools no longer going to be giving away the position of roamers. You still have plans on the line to assist with the clear out of this roam.
no.
Doom just
They
going
don't
for
know.
the plunge into White
They don't
Corridor.
know.
He grabs himself one very quickly, shut down as kills fall back in the other direction. The lead in this round maintained by Jihu as finally they're able to shut down the Nook as well. But Blaz making a well-timed rotation to the White Stairs window is able to grab one back onto Leighton. MC and Shed, the two remaining players alive for Jihu, have plenty of time to consider what they want to do. It's Blaz that has the pressure on, the fuser in hand though Squishy. The camera spotting him out, so they know he's pushing from White.
Yeah, and I mean, Blaz, he won't be able to sneak up anytime soon. They know exactly where he's going to be. He will try to speed it up. No, it'll be a double peak. From the side of Jihu, Shed with the DMR will find that last kill, and now match point for Jihu. They cannot go top floor, so do they risk going middle again? Do they risk on that reading fireplace? Or do they go kitchen and know that Heroic will have a strong chance of winning it? I mean, a pawn pick, they will go for the fireplace mining. Not the reading side though. Bit of a switch up. Could it catch Heroic off guard? They don't know. Not many teams are comfortable of attacking this, but again, Heroic, they're here to win it. They're here to especially win this game as well. Fireplace mining. This is the last defense. Jihu, last chance before overtime, will step in. Heroic one round away of getting to it.
This is interesting. Fireplace was on Old Cafe, the second. And it wasn't second because it was particularly good. It was second because you only had 3 choices, and one of them was Old Bakery. Those of you who remember Old Bakery will remember it was... Basically, it was just, you'd let Flipside have a bit of a laugh with it, and you'd assume it was a free attacking win. Now, it hasn't seen as much play, although especially in NA, we've seen teams like Oxygen start to bring it back into the fold, figuring out ways to sort of play around with it a little bit. The classic was to bring things like Pulse, or about Big Factory, notably being banned out this time by Heroic, to give information from below to play with Nitro cells. This time around, you have something with Creeds on this Solace, but you're pairing the mirror with the castle upstairs on the top floor to play the piano, to play above the site, and still force the kind of classic and expected cafe gameplay of go to the top floor, have to clear the attack on the defense out on the top floor, before you can start making your way down to the site below. So how Heroic choose to deal with this? It looks like they're going for the top again. They'll be looking to try and apply that early pressure. They spot the Oryx, who's able to use the Rima dashes just to get away from any of these dangerous line of sights for the time being.
I mean, Jihu have gone for a bit less of a standard, obviously with Sight completely switching up, and it's the first time I've actually seen some hard support, hard breaching utility being brought up by Uno for the first time on the Ace. Don't think he'll do much even with mirrors on the board, but again, Jihu, they're 50 seconds of wasted Heroic. They've really got to step up the pace because they might be taking this top floor, but how long will it take to get this top floor? Because last time, it took a decent amount of time, and I mean, with a lot of pressure on MC, you've got one cocktail balcony repel, but the sledge could be coming in behind. I don't think they're aware of this. While that's happening, Cream just flying late on the other side of the map, but shotgun close from MC, the shorty, but then they will go out first, and now it's going to be a 2v4. Very low is Sledge. Creeds was playing below Venoms again, but no C4 on the board. I mean, Creeds can't really stop this plant now because he has to be taking these gunfights. 1 minute 30 left on the clock in Heroic. We're talking about how fast they took top floor. They took it in seconds, making it 1v4 now. It's Uno found Creeds. I mean, look at this cafe map, 1 minute 20. They know where the last man is. Venoms with the 1v4. It's looking so unwinnable here.
He's dropped down below, moving that diffuser towards the side. Venom's on the hatch above, the phone call going out. He spots the head of June, is able to get the kill, drops down into mining, looking for a second gunfight, but can't find the win. Uno shuts down the final remaining defender, grabs the win for the team, and more importantly, pushes them into overtime. Both of these games gonna be long ones tonight, Squishy, and well, now we'll have to see how this unfolds with Heroic getting that defensive end again. What happens here? The attacks have the upper hand.
Statistically,
Overtime
Jihu
has a
will win.
magic to it though, Squishy. It has a
Yeah.
magic to it.
yeah. And I mean, when I actually just like, even when I play ranked, I see like a 3-0. Like, let's say I'm starting tank, there's a 3-0, and then they 3-0 as well, and then we switch around, let's say we won all the attack rounds, we would lose all the attack rounds and they would win all the defensive side. It just switched like that. So maybe it could be one of these times where Heroic, it turns into they win all the defense and Jihu can't win an attack. But again, reading Fireplace, Jihu won this site 3 times. If I'm right, definitely 2. I think it was 3 times they won this site. And I mean, Jihu, the same thing, Heroic. They're going for the same shot and the same lineup. If you just look on that left side of your screen, I mean, Joom 11-11, Blaz 15-7, Creeds 14-9, MC next to follow with running Dokkaebi, and he's still got double digits. I mean, these are the players which you're going to be looking out for if you find these picks, like we said, those trades. An entry pick for, let's say, a Bonfragger. I mean, these little trades will make a big effect.
Yeah, with Heroic generally having sort of the monopoly on the early aggression in some of these rounds, it's understandable that, again, we're seeing MC being very cautious around these external windows, just making sure it gets a couple of shots in there.
Safe and sorry.
Jumped out, yeah, exactly, right. Why risk it if you don't have to? Drone player on the bottom floor outside VIP looking to try and catch someone off guard if they walk in and they're not droning out carefully enough. I think droning mishaps would be a rather silly way to lose out an overtime round, but, you know, it does happen to teams. It's still just a patience game, waiting it out, and despite the fact that you're defending the middle floor, quite a bit of presence down on this bottom for the side of Heroic, who have both Blaz and Uno just kind of waiting to see if anyone walks into it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really see, I mean, obviously they're trying to stop the plant and get lots of information. Main thing is trying to stop the plant if they go through the Fireplace and just waste more time for Jihu, but we haven't really seen Jihu trying to go for these kind of takes. And Venoms is the first to die on this overtime side, and that's really going to be a rough time as Jihu, they won all these attack sites on this map, but again, we talk about overtime, it's a bit Pepega. It's not looking like it can go the way it used to in the statistic side. Heroic now on the man advantage and 1 minute 30 left. Jihu, they have no control of this top floor. Heroic, they've got bottom, they've got top. Jihu, they're outside the map.
Phone call coming through now. Just dropping that logic bomb to try and gather as much information as possible, maybe trying to force players out of their spots, just dropping down, looking for the engagement on Piano. MC gonna win it out. With Plant being flashed out, it opens the opportunity for them to really turn this round on its head later, making it 2. Now he's just looking to try and consolidate that lead, but Joom holding on to White Stairs, doing a fantastic job to play around the pressure that's being put into him. Now, but still 50 seconds, still plenty of time for either side to have a big play to turn this game and take the lead. The Squishy, who's it going to fall down onto? All 3 members of Jihu are kind of close by towards each other, playing off of each other's presence to try and grab a pick, but it's the Nitro cell from Uno to start things off.
Yeah, I mean, 30 seconds left. We've seen Jihu win these kind of executes, but it won't be good enough. Blaz is able to find Shed, who knows position of one of the Jooms. He's ran all the way back, forced to try, but there's 20 seconds left. Joom's just playing with his food. Blaz, they're both going to be born. Floor beam, triple for Mace. MC, 1v1. He does not have diffusion hand. He will try to retrieve it, but it is there. It is retrievable. He knows where the last man is. He did see him bomb White Stairs will come up back. Joom, he has to get it quickly. MC going for the diffuse now. But again, 2 flashes in the hand. Joom will now push up the stairs with the overtime and now going into 0 seconds left. MC does get the blind on save, but this Fenrir gadget is not looking good. He can't see a single thing, and Joom will find that round. I mean, it's unbelievable. We say that this is happening. Jihu, they won every single attack round, all 3 of the defensive sites on Reading and Fireplace. And it only until we get to overtime that they finally lose one. I mean, speaking of drama, Jihu, all the pressure's on them now. They won 2 defensive sites. Can they just win 1 to get back on the attack and head to one of the weakest sites Heroic have been able to defend on?
With everything on the line, Jihu going to Bar and Cocktail. Heroic picking the attacking lineup. And I feel like at this point, you've got to say the East hate coming through. You're seeing Uno grab the ace. I'm expecting this to be changed off of. If it's not, I wouldn't expect to see the East stairs take, because it's not really a hard breach required assault. Instead, you just have one of the things more like the Nomads and my runouts, maybe some Claymores in the pocket. Maybe kind of Capital like they had before to help them clear out Cocktail, but as we're not seeing the immediate change come through, perhaps going from the other side is instead on the cards for Heroic here, who want to try and throw something new Thatcher coming in. This is for me. I want to know what's going on. What's going on here? Flores comes through. So no hard breach. He says take. Nope,
What's
there's
the
no hard
Thatcher
breach.
for?
We're going back to piano. And here's the kids, right? You want to make sure you can get these walls opened up. You want to be able to move swiftly through because time is your biggest enemy when you're going for this kind of piano-sided take. If you run out of time, if you're not able to clear out the mirror windows, any potential deployable shields on pixel corner, utility at the back of the cocktail, which is commanding the bar presence, you can't get rid of it. If you can't hit the space quickly enough, you'll just run out of time, and defenders playing savvily, hiding away in corners. It's going to be a little bit more difficult to come up with. Hatch has been opened up very early on, the wall being left soft, so
Yeah.
there's one less task for the attack to have to deal with.
Yeah, I think the walls just been saved for that mirror and those holds. I mean, the Flores is being brought to just try and get the people off these mirrors. As you know, MC does have two in the pocket. And I mean, Jihu, they've kind of set up for a bit more of that east side repel, but obviously they will rearrange their bodies to face the side as, you know, Blaz is already in Cigar. He could find an opening pick. I mean, an opening pick will do it. Bit of unawareness from Jihu. You got to really be on your toes now. He even vaults over. You got to be prepared. And Uno and Blaz are already heading into this ticket and Cigar Christmas side. And this Thatcher coming out. Heroic will be catering. And I think they'll get this in time. And they will. Venom's perfect gameplay from him. I mean, there you have it. That's 2 aces off the board and only one left in the pocket for, I believe that's Kayak. If I get this right, it's a bit confusing. But I mean, Molu, Jihu, everything is on them now.
That's criminal, by the way. Like, it shouldn't have been allowed to work out the first time. Venom's getting caught off by Skitty on the rappel. It's going to be a little bit calmer for pulling off the dirty trick earlier on, and now with that opening into washing, you're starting to see the line for Heroic emerging. Leighton doing a great job to get into that position. Now that Skitty has come off the rappel, he's dead, right? So he's been shot down by Shed, frees up the position, and he's stuck
Leighton no?
onto Pixel.
Oh,
And by
he is.
sneaking
Oh,
down,
no.
they must, the nade coming in, that's going to be enough for him to go down. And another's followed it. Squishy. This is looking bad for Jihu. 2 versus 4 with a minute left to play.
I mean, 2 versus 4. There's no C4 left for MC. That could have been a kill, but there they know the information Heroic have is unbelievable. And too many angles on Cafe which have been opened up by the side of Heroic for Kreese to worry about. Left in the site alone. I mean, MC's bottom floor trying to watch the pilly. This gets shuffle cops on Blaz, but now he is known for. White's desk completely shut down. Creed's going to be the penultimate one to get called off now with 30 seconds left. Nothing more. MC is the last to fall. Heroic, the guys who are favoured to win the entire series, win this map against Jihu. I love Jihu. You put up a great fight, and I mean, you've definitely got eyes on you now. Heroic struggling to get to overtime on that defensive side, on the attacking side, but there you have it. They win the overtime by 2 rounds, 8-6 for Heroic, and I mean, what more else do you want to say? A great comeback from Heroic. I mean, Cafe, this is why I love Cafe Go there. I hope you can see it in yourself.
Yeah, it's the composure of T1 teams that really shone through, right? And Heroic, yeah, they definitely had some struggling moments. But once they kind of figured out how Jihu were playing, what was going to work really well against them, they did a great job of just punishing overextension, catching players off by themselves, and just ramming those advantages home for the win at the end of the day. And yeah, it took them to overtime. They would have wanted the full 3 points. But I think Jihu can walk away with this with a very happy point.
Yeah.
And you're looking at the rest of this group. I think these are the 2 teams you're expecting to see at the top of it by the end. So to see a strong overtime performance coming out, that's good enough, I think. I think you can be very satisfied coming out. But I feel like Jihu, they'll be a little bit disappointed that they weren't able to quite close things out at certain moments. Either way, Heroic get the point they need.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just looking upon that result. I mean, Jihu, they were so close, but again, on a team like Heroic, on when they switched to that defender side, everything was going in their favour. But Heroic, they just used their medicine against them. They went for the east windows just like Jihu did. But I mean, that's all there is to say. But heading into a bit deeper, Velocity and Noctish, please take it away with the round-by-round analysis.
Thank you very much, Squishy and Golu, for that very, very entertaining cast. And well, once again, we see another overtime. So, I mean, Gol, you need a rest after that. 2 overtimes in 1 day. I mean, you must be absolutely shattered. Well, anyway, in case you missed it, it was an 8-6 win to Heroic. They did go to overtime, and Jihu did put up a good fight. Joining me to break down these plays, break down what happened in the match is Noctish once more. And well, Noctish, just what has happened?
I'm actually in heaven. So, as you mentioned, two overtime game in one day, both by the T1 team 8-7 and then 8-6 by Heroic. What an absolute banger we just watched. I want to say, and hopefully, finger crossed, Mr. Officer, I'm so sorry that I'm saying this, I love you, but I believe Heroic kind of disappoints me in the first few rounds of defense. In my opinion, they kind of failed to play basic siege. But I'm pretty sure we get down to it towards the stream.
Yeah, I think that's quite fair to say. They looked like they were struggling against Jihu at the start, but the further into the game we got, the easier it got, I would say, for the side of Heroic. Anyway, then, I believe you have some clips you want to look at and delve a bit deeper into. Noctis. So
Yeah,
let's have a look at some of these.
exactly. So the first clip is the run out and a refrag actually happened uh, towards the kitchen, if I'm not mistaken. It was Zoom running out on V7. Then, as you can see, there was coming a crossfire helping him, but eventually he got refrags pretty early. So the first thing that I will point out is a lack of maybe communication and synchronization between Zoom and his teammates to find the crossfire way earlier to stop the refrag. But the second clip is actually the famous Zoom coming up and get absolute 3 kills. It was interesting and also at the same time questionable for me because you get the first kill, fine, second kill, but why a third kill can follow? Lack of communication, information, entries, room presence can all be questionable questions that are valid to ask from Jihu. But last, it was Jume's clutch. So Jume playing as Fenrir 1v1 against Macy. Macy doesn't have the diffusing in hand, getting back from the red hallway pillars, trying to plant by nearly default. Fenrir gas go on, so he's completely blind. Then Fenrir gathering the kill, and eventually the post plant has been secured safely. Uh, that was a pure 1v1 gun skill moment, in my opinion, and a perfect example of how Fenrir right now can be fitted into the meta. As Kendrew said earlier, in my opinion, Fenrir is broken. Yes, and he will eventually get nerfed. Maybe the amount of gadget that he has, the keys, and etc. But we should see what will happen and what future holds for Fenrir and EUL Stage 2.
Well, thank you, Noctish, for that very in-depth breakdown of what went wrong and what, didn't maybe go as well as planned for both sides. Well, we do have an interview, though, with Skiddy from Heroic, as we just wait for him to enter into the voice call. And, well, some of the questions we have, are kind of interesting. Noctish, thank you very much for joining me on the desk tonight, and hopefully we're seeing you on the desk with me once more.
Anytime, it will be a pleasure.
All right.
Feeling good-ish. It's always nice to win, but maybe got a bit closer than people would have liked, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say it got a bit too close for comfort. I went to overtime. So, I mean, personally, wasn't expecting that. I was obviously favouring Heroic ever so slightly going into this matchup. But anyway, do have some questions for you, if that's all right, if you don't mind sparing a minute of your time. So, my first question on the board is, you look like you were struggling in the first parts of the matchup today, in the first maybe 3 or 4 rounds. I've got to ask, what was going on?
Honestly, I was kind of underestimating the opponent a little bit. but it wasn't as serious as you'd hope for a proper game. But I also cafe attacks are just a bit too not easy. You don't have to do much. You can just win the round off not a lot. You can just play repels and just nade in, and it's quite stale. And they're just really good, as you can see. About 8 rounds of just attacking was one.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say so as well. Right, anyway, moving on from that then, as obviously we did see you struggle quite early on in the match, and well, we then saw kind of what I'd call a light switch effect of Doom and Blaz just switched on, and then everything happened at once, and they kind of popped off, and well, then it was the catalyst for you guys in the end, and obviously it did take you over to overtime, did tide you over. I've got to ask, was that just because the team just switched on and realized, all right, we need to do this, this, and that to beat the team? Was it good communication, good information use? What was it?
Uh, I think we finally decided to switch on as a team. It's not that we weren't trying or whatever, but it wasn't as serious. And when if we're fully common proper ideas and whatever, it'll be a lot easier, and Blaz and Doom will get enabled, so you can kind of tell when things are flowing when they're producing stuff like that, because obviously they're quite important to the attacks playing their roles. So
Sounds pretty fair. Well, just two more questions for you then. So one from me is going into your next games. We're looking. I don't know if you know who your next matchup is. Personally, I don't know who you've got next. Um, what what are you expecting? What are you hoping to improve on next? What are you hoping to do ever so slightly better?
uh, probably be a bit more ruthless from the start, because no one likes a close game like that. So if we can kill games off early, it'll definitely benefit us.
I think that's fair to say. Well, and one more question from the production team. What is it with the cream.heroic and the heroic.cream? What's going on there?
I can't even tell you. It's just a long off season.
Uh,
Just thought we'd experiment with some names, and
that's-
that's what we've decided on.
well, it's caused some laughs in the production team, which is always good. Well, thank you for your time to sit down with us and have a quick interview. Good luck in the rest of your games. Have a good rest of your evening.
Thank you. You too.
Well, ladies and gents, that does conclude our play day for today's Titan series stream. Thank you all very much for tuning in today, and I believe our next play day is tomorrow. Unsure what time just yet. So make sure to keep your eye out for us. Make sure to keep an eye out on Twitter to confirm just to confirm what times we are playing. And I've just had production on my air. We are live again at 9 o'clock and 8:30, or 8:30 and 9 o'clock, whatever way you want to look at it, tomorrow. So, well, I think it's it was a good day today. Let's make sure we tune in tomorrow, and well, we'll see you back here for tomorrow's games.